This is a complete walkthrough of Google Analytics. I'll show you how to set it up, how to use the reports, and how to track key events. I'll also cover newer features like built-in insights and Analytics Advisor, and share practical tips along the way to help you better understand your reports. We're going to start by creating a new Google Analytics account and property. If you're already using Google Analytics, you can log into your account and follow along. Okay, let's jump in and get started. We're looking at the Google Analytics product page on the Google Marketing Platform site. You can find it by navigating to marketingplatform.google.com. I've also included a link in the description below this video. This is where you can sign up for Google Analytics. And on the top right corner, we can see there are two options. If you already have a Google Analytics account, then you can sign in. So you can click this option to then access your existing Google Analytics account. Or if you're just getting started for the first time, then you can click Get Started Today to create your account. Since I already have a Google Analytics account, I'm going to select Sign In to Analytics. Now we need to log in using our Google account. This can be your Gmail address, your Google Workspace address, or the login details you use to access other Google products. Since I already have an account, we can see we're looking at the reports. If you are getting started for the first time, then you won't see these reports. You will immediately be prompted to create a new Google Analytics account. To see this, let's navigate to Admin. Then we click Create at the top and select Account. This is what you'll see if you selected Get Started Today and you're creating your first Google Analytics account. To begin, we need to name our new account. The best way to think about a Google Analytics account is that it's used to organize things. Most businesses will have one account, and inside that account, you'll create one or more properties. A property is where your data actually lives. It's what collects data from your website or app and turns it into reports. In most cases, you'll create one property for your business. That property can collect data from a single website or from multiple websites and apps. So accounts organize properties and properties collect and report on your data. Typically, you will want to name your account after your business. So I'm going to name my account Loves Data, but you can name your account anything you like. And if you need to set up Google Analytics for another business, you would create another account. So each business will have its own account. Below the account name, we have the data sharing options. These let you control how your data is shared. I recommend taking a moment to review these options. I'm going to leave the defaults. When you're happy, click Next. Now that we've named our account, the next step is to create a property. I recommend naming the property so that it reflects the website, app, or combination of websites and apps you will be measuring. Since I'm just planning on measuring my website, I'm going to give the property the same name as my account. I'm going to name it Loves Data. You can always change this if you need to. Next, we need to select the time zone we want to use for our reports. I suggest taking a bit of extra care at this stage because if you decide to change the reporting time zone in the future, you will see a gap or overlap in data. I'm based in Sydney, so I'm going to select Australia, and then Sydney for my reporting time zone. Then we need to select the currency we want to use for our reports. I'm going to leave the currency set to US dollars for my property, but I suggest selecting the primary currency you use for your business or organization. I also want to highlight that the currency selected can be used for automatic currency conversion in your reports. For example, if I send a value in Australian dollars to Google Analytics and I have US dollars selected, then the Australian dollar amounts will be automatically converted to US dollars. Once you're happy with the details for your property, click Next. Now we need to tell Google about our business. We need to select an industry category and the size of our business. And let's click Next. We're now asked to choose our business objectives. The selections we make here control which pre-configured reports will be added to our property. I recommend selecting the Other Business Objectives option, as this will give you a full set of reports and basically includes everything that's available in the other 4 options. So let's select Other Business Objectives. And then click Create. We need to agree to the terms of service for our particular country. I'm going to select Australia and accept the terms. We have now created our new Google Analytics account and property, and we can see the next step is to choose a platform. This is where you are going to install Google Analytics, and the selection we make here will create a data stream. A data stream is used to collect data into your property and reports. You can create one data stream or multiple data streams. For example, if you're going to be measuring a single website, then you will just have one. But if you want to measure a website and an app, you'll have 2 data streams. So just remember, a data stream is used to send data to Google Analytics, and the data will then be processed into your reports. We can choose the type of stream we want to create. Since I'm going to be measuring my website, I'm going to select Web. Now we can enter the URL of our website and name the stream. For my stream, I'm going to enter www.lovesdata-test.com as the URL. And I'm going to name the stream Loves Data Website. Next, we can adjust the enhanced measurement settings. Enhanced measurement lets you automatically track a range of actions on your website without needing to add or adjust any code. It will automatically track page views, plus people scrolling pages on your website, clicks on outbound links, and your website search function. It will also track forms, people watching embedded YouTube videos, and people downloading files. Enhanced measurement is enabled by default, and it's a great starting point, but it's worth reviewing these events to make sure they align with what you actually want to measure on your website. You also have the option of disabling the events that are automatically collected by enhanced measurement. To do this, you can click the configuration icon, and then disable or enable the actions you want to automatically track. For example, if you don't want to report on people engaging with forms on your website, you can disable this option, and then click Save. Then when you're happy, click the button to create your data stream. Our data stream has now been created, and after we wait a moment, we can see installation instructions are loaded. Google Analytics will try to automatically identify the platform used for your website. You can use these to install Google Analytics, or you can view additional options. For example, you can select the option to choose your CMS to be guided through the installation steps. Let's close this. Details are now loaded for our data stream. Apart from using the installation instructions, you can also copy the measurement ID on the top right corner. When we add this on our website using either the Google Tag or Google Tag Manager, the measurement ID ensures that data flows into our property and our reports. In most cases, I recommend using Google Tag Manager instead of the Google Tag because it provides added flexibility. You can manage multiple tags, not just Google Analytics, using Google Tag Manager. And you can also configure Google Tag Manager to track a whole range of other actions and elements on your website. Now that we've covered the steps to create a new account and property, we're going to start exploring our reports. Then later in this video, we'll look at installing Google Analytics and important configuration options. To explore our reports, we're going to use Google's demo account. This lets you follow along and explore real data, even if you haven't set up your own property yet. To access the demo account, let's head to my blog. I've included a link to this in the description below this video. Let's click the link to access the demo property for the Google Merchandise Store. We're now looking at Google's demo property. This is the perfect way to explore Google Analytics and experiment with the reports you can customize. This property shows us data from Google's Merchandise Store, which sells a range of Google-branded products like t-shirts, hats, and other accessories. At the top, we can select the drop-down to quickly switch between the different accounts and properties we have access to in Google Analytics. This is useful if you're looking after Google Analytics for multiple businesses. We're going to stick with Google's demo. On the left, we have the main menu that lets us navigate between the different types of reports in Google Analytics. First is Home. This provides a top-level summary for your website. At the top, we can see automated insights based on Google's AI. These insights are different for each property, and they highlight unusual changes or trends that Google Analytics thinks are worth looking at. Below these AI-driven insights, we can see top-level summaries from our reports. Using the menu, we can see Reports, which is where you can find the pre-configured reports. This includes dedicated reports showing you how people find your website, what pages they've viewed, if they've converted, plus demographics and details about the devices they're using. Explore lets you create custom reports, and you can visualize data in different ways. For example, you can create simple tables, funnel visualizations, and more. A helpful way to think about this is that reports are best for monitoring what's happening on your website, while Explore is best when you have a specific question you want to answer. Next is Advertising. These reports show you the relationship between your different marketing channels and how they lead to conversions on your website. And finally, on the bottom left corner is Admin. This lets us access additional settings for our account and property. Before we look at some of the most important reports, it's worth knowing that Google Analytics offers a lot of different ways to view your data. This includes pre-configured reports and custom exploration reports you can build yourself. The goal isn't to learn every report. It's to understand the reports that help you make sense of what's happening on your website. Okay, so we're still looking at the Home report. And below the AI-driven insights, we can see the total number of active users and the total number of key events. Key events are used to report on conversions, so any action that is important for your business. We can also see the number of sessions, so the number of times people have visited the website. And we can also see the total number of purchases. These totals are for the last 14 days, but we can change this by clicking the current selection and choosing a new one. Now we can see all the metrics are updated. We can also see a trend line for the metric that is currently selected. This is showing us our user trend, and the dotted line shows us a comparison to the previous period, which is the same number of days before our currently selected date range. In the next card, we can see the total number of active users that have been on our website in the last 30 minutes. Below this, we can see any reports and settings we've recently viewed. And at the bottom, we can see any insights and recommendations. These can include automated insights, which are based on Google's AI. These insights are designed to help you quickly spot unexpected changes in your data. You also have the option of configuring custom insights based on metrics and conditions you choose. Now let's navigate to Reports. We're now looking at the report snapshot, which is similar to the home report we just looked at. We can see the number of active users, new users, average engagement time, and event count. Below these metrics, we can see the top pages people have viewed on the website. This includes the number of views, so page views, the number of active users, the total number of events collected on each page, and the bounce rate. Traveling down further, we can see more cards. We can see the top ways new users are finding us. We can see the top traffic sources that are driving sessions, the trend for new and returning users, and more. Since Google Analytics includes a lot of different terminology, I want to quickly mention a handy resource I've created for you. It's my Google Analytics glossary. If you're just getting started, this can really help as new terms come up. I've included a link in the description below this video. Now let's navigate to the Real-Time Overview report. This report lets you view details about the people who are currently on your website. Data is processed into the reports within a few seconds. This can be useful for identifying where people are landing on your website. For example, if you're sending out an important email campaign, then you can check that people are viewing the pages you expect as they click through to your website. And each card includes a bar chart. This is read from right to left, so the current minute is on the right, and then each bar stepping to the left represents another minute contained in the last 30 minutes. We can also see the total number of active users on the website in the last 30 minutes and the last 5 minutes. The geographic map shows us where people are located. And scrolling down, we can see additional insights about people currently on the website. This includes how they found the website. We can see if people are being included in any audiences. We'll talk more about this later in the tutorial, but basically we can create different audience lists and we can then see the number of users matched to each list. We can also see the content people are viewing on our website, so the pages they're viewing, and we can see the events that are being collected. We can see page views, scrolls, and other events being collected. We can also see key events, so the number of conversions, and any user properties that have been collected. Apart from the overview report, there's also a dedicated real-time pages report. Let's open this report. This report just focuses on the pages people are currently viewing on your website. At the top, we can see the number of active users in the last 30 minutes and the number of pages viewed in the last 30 minutes. The table lists all of the individual pages people are viewing, along with the number of active users and views. You can travel through the table using the arrows on the right, and you can narrow down on pages using the search option on the left. Now let's select Acquisition, and then Overview. The acquisition reports are all about how people are finding the website. On the Overview report, we can see similar details that we saw on the Home report and the report snapshot. We can see the number of active users and new users. And again, we have the real-time card on the right. Traveling down, we can then see how new users are finding the website. So we have new users by the first user primary channel group. This automatically combines the different ways people are finding the website into categories. We can modify what is presented in each card by selecting another dimension from the drop-down. For example, let's choose first user medium. This now updates to show us the medium. This tells us how the message was communicated. We can see this includes CPC for people clicking through from our paid ads, organic for people clicking through from the free search results on Google and other search engines, referral for people clicking through from other websites, and more. There are also cards that show sessions by primary channel group, and sessions coming from Google Ads campaigns, and a card showing the average lifetime value of our users. You can also use the links at the bottom of the cards to view the full report. And we can also adjust the date range used for the report. Let's select the current date range. You can then choose from predefined ranges or choose your own custom date range. And you can use the compare option to compare two date ranges to see any changes. Let's enable compare and click apply. We can now see if metrics have increased or decreased in the report. Now let's select the date range again, disable the comparison, and click apply. Apart from the acquisition overview, there are also dedicated reports for user acquisition. This shows you a breakdown of metrics for the first way users found your website. You can also change the dimension used for the report using the drop-down. And you can add a second dimension to the report using the plus sign. For example, if you want to see the way people found your website combined with their landing page, then we can add landing page as a second dimension. Next, the traffic acquisition report shows you how people found your website to start each of their sessions. So this report goes beyond the very first time they found your website, which we've seen in the user acquisition report. Since the report focuses on sessions, we can see more session-based metrics in the table. And just like the other report, we can change the dimension using the drop-down. The next set of reports we're going to look at are the engagement reports. These reports show you what people are doing on your website. This is where you can see the pages people are viewing, the events that are automatically collected using enhanced measurement, and any other events you've configured in Google Analytics. Let's select engagement, and then events. This report shows you all of the events that have been collected. At the top of the report, we can see Google's AI is automatically highlighting unexpected trends in the data. These automated insights can be a good starting point for your analysis. Traveling down, we can see the trend, and below this, we can see the table. This includes the default page view event, automatic events from enhanced measurement, and any recommended or custom events that have been implemented. We're going to talk more about events later in this tutorial, but if you're interested in a more in-depth lesson, then I recommend checking out my dedicated resources and courses. I've included links in the description below this video. Now let's open the Pages and Screens report. This report shows you the pages people are viewing on your website. Looking at the table, we can see pages are reported based on their URL. This is the page path dimension. And the report is ordered by the number of views, so the number of page views by default. And you can also report on the first pages people view using the landing page report. Let's open this report. This report shows you the first page people viewed when they started a session on your website. This lets you identify the top entry points to your website. These pages can be useful if you're looking to cross-promote content. On the right of the table, we can see the number of key events, or conversions, that occur after people land on different pages. We will cover how to configure key events later in the tutorial. Now let's select Monetization, and then Overview. The Monetization section includes the e-commerce reports. The Overview report shows us the total revenue for the website, so the total value from all events. And the e-commerce revenue from transactions. This is the purchase revenue metric. These metrics will be the same unless you're assigning dollar values to events other than e-commerce transactions. We can see the total number of people who've made a purchase and the total number of people who have made a purchase for the first time. These are both user-based metrics. We can also see the average purchase revenue per active user and the top items people have purchased. There are also additional cards showing the number of items purchased based on list names being sent to Google Analytics. This lets you send custom information about how products are being grouped and displayed on your website. You can also track items being purchased based on promotions you are offering, and you can track revenue based on coupon codes being used. Now let's open the e-commerce purchases report. This report provides more granular details about the items people are purchasing on the website. We can see metrics for each item by item name, and choosing the drop-down lets you change the dimension used for the report. There are additional e-commerce funnel reports. These are the purchase journey and checkout journey reports. And there are reports focused on promotions and another showing individual transaction IDs. Now we're going to skip down to the bottom of the reporting menu and select User Attributes, and then Overview. This report shows you a top-level summary about the people viewing your website. We can see where they're geographically located by country, the cities they're located in, their gender, interests, age, and their language preference based on the settings on the device they are using. If you find that gender, interests, and age are missing in your reports, this means you haven't enabled Google Signals yet. We will talk about Google Signals in a moment, but for your property, once you've enabled the feature, you will be able to see these additional details for your users. Next is the Demographic Details report. This provides a granular breakdown of metrics, and we can see that the report shows us people's geographic location by country. Again, like the other reports we've seen, selecting country lets us change the report. For example, we can choose city to see the metrics broken down by city. And you might be wondering about not set. This is telling us that there are a portion of users where the city is unknown. Basically, Google Analytics has collected details about the user but isn't able to provide this specific information we've asked for in the report. So you can think of not set as unknown in Google Analytics. Now let's select Tech, and then Overview. The technology reports show you details about the devices people are using to view your website. Traveling down the report, we can see people's operating systems, the types of devices they're using, the browsers they're using, device categories, so desktop, tablet, and mobile, and the size of their screens. There are some cards that are blank since they're used to report on apps and we're reporting on a website. And traveling back to the top, wherever you see platform, this is showing you the type of data stream used to collect data into your reports. Since this property only has a web data stream, we can see 100% of users are associated with the web platform. If you were using Google Analytics to collect data from a website and an app, you would see both of these under Platform. And let's open the Tech Details report. This report is like the other detail reports we've looked at, and we can see it shows us the browsers people are using by default. And selecting the drop-down lets you switch to the other available dimensions. For example, we can select Device Category to then see the metrics broken down by the types of devices people are using to view the website. So those are the standard pre-configured reports in Google Analytics. If you have editor or administrator access, you'll also see a library option at the bottom of the reporting menu. This lets you customize the menu and the reports. We don't have access to this in Google's demo property. This is why reports can look a little different between properties. If you'd like to learn more about customizing reports, I've linked to extra resources in the description below this video. Okay, let's select Explore. The exploration reports let you create different custom reports and visualizations. Across the top, we can see the different types of reports we can create. We can create free-form reports, which can include tables or other types of charts. Funnel exploration, which lets you visualize particular steps you want people to travel through. For example, steps to complete a lead form or steps in your e-commerce checkout. Path exploration, which lets you visualize the paths people take through your pages or other actions they take on your website. Segment overlap, which lets you apply multiple segments to see if users are included in one or more of your segments. Cohort exploration, which lets you group users based on the days, weeks, or months they visit your website. User lifetime, which lets you view additional lifetime user metrics. And in your own property, you'll also find user exploration, which lets you drill down on individual users. This report isn't available in Google's demo property. Selecting any of these options will load a pre-configured template. So if you're getting started, I recommend opening each one to see what's available. Now let's navigate back. I also want to mention, if you scroll down, you'll see any exploration reports that have already been created. Okay, now let's create a new blank exploration report. We're going to walk through the steps to create 2 exploration reports. First, I'll show you how to create a report that highlights the custom campaigns sending people to your website. Then we'll build a funnel visualization to see the steps people take as they move toward converting on your website. Okay, on the top left corner, we can name our report. Let's name this report Campaigns. Next, we need to add the elements we want to use in the report. We can see there are options to create segments, add dimensions, and add metrics. Let's click the plus sign next to dimensions. A dimension is a row of information in our report. So for this report, I want to show the names of the campaigns sending traffic to the website. So let's search for campaign. And I'm going to enable the session campaign dimension. There are lots more dimensions you can choose from, so take some time to explore the options. We're going to create a simple report, so let's click Confirm. Now let's click the plus sign next to Metrics, and let's search for and select Sessions. Active users. And key events. Now let's click Confirm. Now we need to add the elements to build our report. We can add dimensions we want to use under rows in the second column, and we can add metrics under values. To do this, we can drag them or double-click them. Let's double-click Session Campaign to add the dimension under Rows. And let's double-click Active Users, Sessions, and Key Events under Values. We can see that the first rows aren't for campaigns, so organic, direct, and not set. We need to remove these. To do this, we're going to add a filter to our report. Let's scroll to the bottom of the second column. Select Filters and choose Session Campaign. Now let's choose Does Not Match Regex, which lets us enter a regular expression. This is more advanced, but you don't need to memorize this. Just copy what I'm about to enter and you'll get the same result. And if you'd like to learn more about regular expressions, check out the extra resources below this video. Now I want you to enter caret, backslash, open parenthesis, full stop, asterisk, backslash, close parenthesis, $sign. This will exclude any campaigns that start and end with a parenthesis. Now let's click Apply. We've now created a report that only includes our campaigns. Great work! Now we're going to create one more exploration report. So let's navigate back and create another blank report. Let's name the report Conversion Funnel. And this time let's select Free Form at the top of the second column and change this to Funnel Exploration. Now in the second column, I want you to look for Steps and click the pencil icon. Now you can specify the steps you want people to complete on your website. We're going to focus on e-commerce events, but you can base your funnel on any of the events you've collected into your property. For example, you can create a funnel based on page views to see how people travel through particular pages on your website. Okay, let's name the first step Begin Checkout. And for the condition, let's search for and select begin_checkout. This will mean we include people in our funnel when they trigger the Begin Checkout event. Now let's click Add Step. At the top of the second step, we can see it says is indirectly followed by. You can select this and change it to is directly followed by. For example, choosing this option would mean people won't be included in the funnel if they view another page in between steps. For my funnel, I don't mind if people view other pages or perform other actions, so I'm going to change this back to the default of is indirectly followed by. And on the right, you can see there is an option to set a time limit, so the step needs to be viewed within a certain period of time. I'm going to leave this disabled. Now let's name the step Add Payment Info. And for the condition, let's search for and select add_payment_info. Now let's add one more step. Let's name the step Purchase. And for the condition, let's search for and select Purchase. Now let's click Apply on the top right corner. We can now see the steps we've defined, and the visualization at the top shows the number of users who make it through each step. Below the visualization, you can see the number of users who drop off at each step. And you can see a breakdown of metrics for the funnel in the table. You can customize your funnel report further. For example, you can enable Make Open Funnel, which means users can enter the funnel at any step you've defined, rather than needing to travel through the first step. And you can change from a standard funnel to a trended funnel to see the trend for users based on the funnel step and the date range. Now that we've looked at the exploration reports, we're going to move on to the advertising reports in Google Analytics. These reports help you understand how your marketing channels work together and how they contribute to conversions. Let's navigate to advertising. These reports are useful once you've linked Google Analytics to Google Ads and you're tracking key events. If you haven't linked Google Ads yet, some of these reports may look limited, but it's still helpful to understand how they work. First, the advertising snapshot provides a top-level summary for your marketing channels. At the top, we can see the trend for conversions and the total number of conversions by the default channel group. Traveling down, we can see key events by default channel group, along with automated insights and the top paths driving key events. Now, you're probably wondering why we're seeing both key events and conversions in the advertising reports. And yes, this is pretty confusing. Basically, key events are used to report on important actions in Google Analytics, while Google Ads uses conversions for reporting and optimization. Google Ads conversions can include events imported from Google Analytics, along with any conversions that have been created directly inside your Google Ads account. So to give you a complete view, the advertising reports in Google Analytics show you key events and conversions. Just remember that the conversions metric will include your key events along with any other conversion actions that have been configured in your linked Google Ads account. Now let's open the key event performance report. This report lets you see the number of key events from each of your marketing channels. At the very top of the report, you can also select other Google products to update the report. For example, selecting Google Ads from the drop-down will focus the report on your Google Ads campaigns. You can also choose which key events are included in the report by selecting the Key Events drop-down. And just like the other reports we've looked at, you can select the default dimension above the table to switch to one of the other available dimensions. Now let's open the Key Event Attribution Paths report. This report provides a visual representation of the marketing touchpoints people engage with before a key event is tracked. For example, we can see some rows show us that some users engage with our organic search listings multiple times before converting. And as you travel through the rows in the report, you will also see paths that include multiple channels. This helps you understand the relationship between your channels and how they drive key events on your website. I also want to highlight that you can customize the report by changing the dimension used for the paths, by changing the attribution model used for the report, and by choosing which key events are used in the table and visualization. The next report is the Key Event Attribution Models report. This report lists our marketing channels on the left, and moving to the right, we can see the number of key events and revenue for each channel. These metrics are reported twice. The first set of metrics use the last click attribution model, and the second set of metrics use the data-driven attribution model. So the report allows us to compare how credit is given to our marketing touchpoints based on these two different models. On the very right of the report, we can then see the difference between the two models. So we can see the percentage increase and decrease when we compare them. Once you've linked your Google Ads account, you can also use the conversion reports. Remember, these reports will include key events from Google Analytics along with conversions from Google Ads. Under Budgeting, you will see Overview, Projection, and Scenario Planner. These tools let you see forecasts and predictions for your paid advertising and see how changes to your budget will impact conversions, advertising spend, and more. Conversion Management lets you view all of the conversions that are configured in Google Analytics and your linked Google Ads accounts. This makes it easier to understand what's being included in the advertising reports and also compare settings between platforms. And the Advertising Segments report lets you view how many users are available for targeting purposes in Google Ads. This lets you see if your audience lists meet the minimum list sizes for remarketing campaigns. Another way you can report on the performance of your website is using Google's AI. Analytics Advisor is built into Google Analytics and it lets you chat with your data. You can open Analytics Advisor by clicking the icon on the top right corner of the interface. You can now ask a range of questions about your data. For example, let's ask, how is the website performing year on year? Analytics Advisor will now analyze the available data in the property to answer our question. This can take a few moments. And we're now given a summary showing us year-on-year changes. You can ask Analytics Advisor a whole range of reporting, analysis, and optimization questions. And for more ideas, check out the extra resources in the description below this video. Okay, now that we've covered the reports, it's time to look at the ways we can configure Google Analytics. We're going to walk through the steps to configure conversions, create audiences, and more. Let's navigate to Admin. And let's start by selecting Events. You can also find this by selecting Data Display and then Events. By default, we're looking at the Key Events tab, which shows us all of the events that have been configured to report on important actions on the website. Now let's select the Recent Events tab. This shows us events that have been recently collected into the property. This will include events that are automatically collected, like the first visit event, the page view event, and the session start event. And if you're using enhanced measurement, then additional events can also be collected automatically. This can include the scroll event for people scrolling 90% of a page and the click event for outbound clicks. You can also implement other events to track certain actions and details on your website. This includes the add to cart event and purchase event for e-commerce transactions, along with any other events you've implemented on your website. If you have marketer, editor, or administrator access to Google Analytics, you can select Create Event to create new events. And you can select Custom Configurations and then Modifications to modify events. Since I'm using Google's demo property and I don't have access, I can't use these options. The Create Event option lets you create a new event based on an existing event in Google Analytics. And the Modification option lets you change the values used for the parameters that are sent with each event. And it also lets you change the name used for an event. We're going to use the Create Event option in a moment to configure a conversion. And the other option that will be available if you have access is you will also be able to mark individual events as key events to report on conversions. You can mark an event as a key event by clicking the star icon to the left of an event. Again, I can't do this in Google's demo account. So to cover the steps to configure a key event inside Google Analytics, we're going to use my own demo property. Let's head to my demo property. We can now select Create Event. We can also select Custom Configurations and choose Modifications. And we can also mark individual events as key events. Okay, so if you see the event you would like to use as a key event and you have marketer, editor, or administrator permission, you can simply click the star icon to the left of the event. Once enabled, every time the event is collected into Google Analytics, a key event will also be counted in your reports. This lets you report on how many conversions occur on your website. This is perfect if you wanted to track people watching videos or scrolling, but if we were to enable the page view event as a key event, then every time someone views a page on our website, a key event would be counted. However, this doesn't work if you only want to track a thank you page or conversion page as a key event in Google Analytics. If you want to track a specific page as a key event, like your thank you page, then you will need to track that individual page as a unique event first. There are two ways you can do this. The first option is to create a new event inside Google Analytics based on an existing event. For example, you can trigger a new event when a thank you page is viewed. This is the simplest approach because everything can be set up directly in Google Analytics. The second option is to configure a tag in Google Tag Manager to send an event when the thank you page is viewed. For example, you could send a generate lead event after someone completes a form. We're going to use the first option in this tutorial. If you'd rather use Google Tag Manager, I've linked to additional resources in the description below this video. Okay, let's select Create Event. I want to track people viewing my thank you page as a separate event, so I'm going to name my event generate_lead. And since we want our new event to be reported as a key event, let's enable the Mark as Key Event option. We can then enter a default value for our key event. This lets us define how much the action or conversion is worth. Below this, we can adjust how key events are counted. Let's leave the default of once per event selected. Next, we need to configure the conditions for when we want our new event to be triggered. Let's leave Create Without Code selected. And let's also leave page_view selected for the event name. This means that we will only be matching page view events. For the URL, let's enter thank-u. This will mean our new event will trigger every time someone views a page on our website that has a URL containing thank-u. Now let's click Create. We've now created a new event that will be triggered when someone views a page with a URL containing thank-u on our website. And the event will also be counted as a key event in our reports. Once someone views a page that matches our condition, you will be able to see the event in the real-time reports straight away. However, the standard reports, including the events report we looked at, can take 12 to 24 hours for data to appear. So if someone visits the thank you page now, I recommend checking back tomorrow to see it in your reports. Now let's navigate to Audiences, which is also under Data Display. You can create audiences to report on particular groups of users. For example, you might want to use an audience to focus on users who make multiple purchases on your website, or to focus on users who haven't converted yet. Apart from using audiences to focus your reporting, audiences can also be used for remarketing in your linked Google Ads account. You will see any audiences that have already been created in the property. And if you're just getting started, you'll see 2 predefined audiences that are automatically available. These are all users and purchasers. So all users is for everybody who has been to your website or used your app. And purchases are for people who've completed an e-commerce transaction on your website or made an in-app purchase. If you haven't sent a purchase event to your property, then this will be empty. Let's create an audience for people who visit our website but haven't viewed our thank you page, so they haven't converted yet. To do this, let's click New Audience. There are suggested templates for audiences you can create at the bottom. We're going to create our own audience, so let's select Create a Custom Audience at the top. Let's name our audience Haven't Generated Lead. Since we're creating an audience for people who haven't triggered our Generate Lead event, let's select the trash can icon to the right of Include Users When. Now let's click Add Group to Exclude. This allows us to exclude users if they meet our criteria. Now let's enter the exact name of the event we previously created for our key event. Let's enter generate_lead. Since we only just created the new Generate Lead event, it won't appear in the list of existing events. If the event you want to use to create your audience has already been collected, you'll see it listed and you can simply select it. For example, if we search for page_view instead, we can see this event listed, but we want to use the Generate Lead event. So let's search for Generate_lead again and select Create Event. Let's leave the rest of the defaults and click Save. We've now created an audience that will include users that haven't triggered our Generate Lead event. We can use this to report on how these users engage with our website and also create a remarketing campaign in Google Ads to target ads to people who aren't a lead yet. Just remember you can create audiences even if you're not going to use them for targeting in Google Ads. You can use them for reporting too. To learn even more about audiences and walk through more examples, I recommend checking out my Google Analytics course. I've included a link in the description below this video. Now we're going to touch on a few other configuration options you can use in Google Analytics. Next is comparisons. Comparisons allow you to create segments which you can apply to your standard reports. There are a number of pre-configured comparisons, and you can also create your own custom comparisons. I've included a link to my dedicated tutorial covering comparisons in the description below this video. Next is custom definitions. This is where you can register parameters that have been sent with events as either custom dimensions or custom metrics to use in your reports. As we've seen in the standard reports and the exploration reports, there are lots of default metrics and dimensions that are automatically available in Google Analytics. If you want to add your own custom metrics and dimensions to your reports, you can do this using custom definitions. Below custom definitions, you will find channel groups. Channel groups let you control how different methods people use to find your website are automatically classified. For example, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram are included in the organic social channel by default. The channel groups option lets you create your own classifications for how people find your website. And jumping down, there is the debug view. The debug view lets you test your implementation to see a live view of events as you check things on your website. Now let's look at some of the options under Property. First, Property Details is where you can change the name of your property, check the reporting time zone, the currency used for your reports, and even move your property to another account. Property Access Management lets you control who has access to your property and account. Now let's select Data Collection and Modification. We've already talked about data streams, but this is where you can get the measurement ID and tracking code to add to your website. Data collection is where you can enable Google Signals. This is the feature you'll need to enable to see age, gender, and interests in your reports. You will also need to enable this to use audiences in your linked Google Ads account. Data retention lets you set how long to keep user identifiable data and event data in your reports. You can choose between 2 and 14 months. I recommend switching this to 14 months so you have more historical data available in your reports. Data filters is where you can configure a filter to exclude your internal traffic from reports. Consent settings tells you if you have set up consent mode. This is important if you want to use data collected from users based in the EU for targeting in Google Ads. There are additional settings and options you can use with your property. One important option I want to highlight is the Product Links option. This is where you can link Google Ads, Google Search Console, and other Google products. I recommend taking the time to link Google Ads and Google Search Console for additional reports and insights in Google Analytics. We've now covered how to create an account, explored the reports, and looked at some of the most important configuration options. Now I'm going to show you how to add Google Analytics to your website. To install Google Analytics on your website, I generally recommend using Google Tag Manager, since it provides additional flexibility. To do this, you'll need to get the measurement ID for your data stream. So let's select Data Collection and Modification, and then Data Streams. Then we select the data stream we created at the start of the tutorial. Now we just need to copy the measurement ID on the top right corner and head to Google Tag Manager. Let's create a new tag. Let's name the tag Google Tag GA4 Page View. And let's select Tag Configuration. Now we need to choose Google Tag as the tag type. And let's click the variable icon under Tag ID. Now let's click the plus sign on the top right corner. Let's name the variable GA4 Measurement ID. And let's select Variable Configuration. Now let's select Constant and paste our measurement ID as the value. Now let's click Save. By creating a variable like we've done, it means we can easily reuse the measurement ID in multiple tags. Now let's ensure the initialization all pages trigger is added under triggering. This will mean that the tag is added to all of the pages on our website and it will fire before other tags. Now we can save the tag. And let's click Preview. Enter the URL of our website. And click Connect. We can see Google Tag Assistant has loaded, and we can navigate through our website and complete any actions we're tracking using Google Tag Manager. Now let's select the Tag Assistant tab, and we can see that our tag has been fired. Now let's head to Google Analytics and open the debug view. We can now see the events that have been collected using Tag Assistant. I'm happy that everything is working, so let's head back to Google Tag Manager. And let's click Submit to publish our changes to our live website. Now let's name our version. And let's click Publish. Our changes have now been published to our live website, and we're now collecting data into Google Analytics. So that's how you can get started with Google Analytics. We've covered how to create an account and property, walked through the reports, and explored the main configuration and customization options. If you'd like to keep learning, I've included links to extra resources, tutorials, and my courses in the description below this video. And if you want to stay up to date with new videos, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.